Call to order at 11:06. We will now move to the next agenda item, presentation on the right to read by Kareem Weaver. Mr. Weaver, the floor is yours.
While he's getting it out and working out, let me just say what an honor it is to be here and a pleasure. I really enjoyed that presentation from the young people. I know I wasn't the only one. When the young lady said, Emma Sophia is her name. Is she still here? Oh, she left. Emma Sophia said, all. Did you hear that? All. And I start thinking about how we as adults look at success, thank you, how we, our expectations for what success looks like. But kids are so pure, of course, all. I want all my friends to. And I just want to make sure that's honored. And I keep that same spirit because I know you have it as well. So my name is Kareem Weaver, a longtime educator, California guy, and we were fortunate enough to create a film about literacy. The superintendent presented earlier about the literacy and math in the state and some of the good work that's happening here. And I want to start by just asking the question, which is, how good is good enough? It's first of all, I give you a lot of credit, Mr. Superintendent, to be open to saying, you know what, we've made a lot of progress. We're ranked here where the state is, and we're willing to hear from other voices to think about not a lot of people will do that. It takes courage, confidence, and clarity. So I have a lot of respect for you for that. But how good is good enough? What is for you as a board member? Is it 40% or 50% of what percentage of kids reading efficiently is what you would consider to be successful? We don't really ask that question very often. And how good is good enough? But I think we need to ask those kinds of questions if we're going to be clear on where we want to go. Okay, let's jump into it. So in Oakland, so we started a national movement, both in Oakland and formerly in the state of California, the education lead, to make sure that we're doing the things that will get the greatest number of kids possible reading proficiently. That's really all it is. Some call it the science of reading, some call it evidence-based, whatever. How do we get the most kids reading? And we went around the country, we looked at what works, we did research on it, and we came up with these. We started out with 50, we drilled it down to 8. Okay? And we presented them to the school board and the staff and said, we want these. Can you do these? And they said, we're going to try our best. Some of them were kind of no-brainers. Others of them were really, really tough. In fact, I highlighted one here and said we need a role dedicated to structured literacy in the superintendent's cabinet. The superintendent cannot see everything. Believe it or not, he's an amazing man, but he cannot see or do everything. He needs folks on the team who have the eyes and ears that are right there in the cabinet level so that those things can be brought up. It's tough when those folks in charge of literacy are 5 and 6 levels down the org chart with no staff but it's just tough. So one of the things I wanted to do was bring up someone, because they actually created a position, we can talk about if it was enough or not, in Oakland Unified, and I want to bring that person up who's actually from Hawaii. I recruited her and stole her from you guys, but she just left, and so she's back home now, and so I want to ask Romy to come up and talk a little bit about what it was like being the literacy director for Oakland Unified.
Thank you so much. Hi, Romy Trigg-Smith. I actually grew up in Kailua. I started my career in IAEA as a DOE member. Yeah, I was this person that Kareem talks about for 4 years. I started in 2020 as the Director of Early Literacy in Oakland Unified School District. I was actually a principal for 5 years prior at a TK through 8 in East Oakland. And I was not cabinet level. Obviously my title, I was a director, but I did have a team. I had a team of 9 to really make a transformation in Oakland. We were a very heavily balanced literacy district using not very valid, reliable assessments. And we went on a movement, which was really a citywide movement. And that was a lot because of a coalition of funders, advocacy groups, university partners, and everyone came together together, really spearheaded by our superintendent, who made a strategic plan similar to yours and set out there are 4 priorities. And that first priority I have is ensuring strong readers by 3rd grade, is early literacy, and kind of gave me the runway to move the work that we moved over 4 years, which was an overhaul of the assessment system, curriculum adoption, and a brand new vision, a TK5 language and literacy vision that we created over an entire year with partnership from all the stakeholders. We had teachers, principals, all of our community actually in that space creating that together. So I definitely agree with this demand, and a lot of our transition actually was inspired by a lot of advocacy that Kareem had done at the time. And I can also share, I know I only have a couple minutes, but I'm happy to share at any time, a lot of challenges that were also in the past 4 years making movement because of just the different levels, right, of getting decisions made and reporting to an ED, who reported then to a net soup, who then reported to the chief academic officer, who then reported to the superintendent, and just being able to navigate those spaces. We made a lot of progress, but definitely could have made a lot more progress when you're sitting in different teams. And our academic team was separate from our schools team. So being able to get in front of principals and my principal hat on, you can't move anything, right, in a district unless you really galvanize and inspire your principals and teach them, right, and support that professional development. Yeah, so just wanted to introduce, the work we did in Oakland.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So one of the things she talked about was the proximity to leadership. And it matters because you're dealing with everything from the transportation to just everything. And literacy is so important. It's good to have it in the cabinet so that it arises in the conversations that you're having. So I was nosy and I looked through your org chart, and on the left I saw these wonderful positions and everything, and all the assistant soups and the librarian who I met earlier and the deputies and all that. But there's something missing. And I'm talking about just the leadership group, right? And so I was like, where's a literacy person? It's like, well, it's kind of everybody's thing. Sometimes when it's everybody's thing, it's nobody's thing. But then I looked a little bit closer. I looked at all the different offices and talent management and tech and just, a lot of good stuff there. And one looked really, I said, it's got to be there. I'm thinking curriculum and instructional design. I think that's probably where it sits. And then I looked there and I looked at all and I didn't see it. But it's so common. I talk to state folks all the time and district folks all the time. This is very, very common. It's just very common. And it's something that, sometimes it's a budget issue, sometimes it's just a structural issue. Who knows what the reason is, but it's good to have someone at the cabinet level who can be the eyes and ears of the superintendent, who's focused on literacy. Now, I did see the early learning people, pre-K, so they've got a thing. There's someone there in charge of that. They've got staff, they've got different things. I think they're funded by Castle. Fine, great. But now after that, what about kindergarten we always hear about 3rd grade reading. So who's in charge of that? When you want as a group to move that group forward, it's nice to have some folks really dedicated just to that. In the appendix, there's a little video of a assistant superintendent and her, one person underneath her, and they explain how they did it. They were successful in one district, they went to another. And so it's a resource if you want to hear the quick little video. I think it's 5 minutes for people talking about how they did it. Okay, so there's that. So then, who leads this? So that's the question there. Let's move on. So then there's curriculum. So I have these 8 C's here. All these things matter. All these C's matter. When you look around the country and see who's actually making progress in this, because it's tough. To make the progress you all have made is astounding. And now, like the next level is tough. That's what Massachusetts will tell you. It's going from good to great. It's tough. And so then what are the resources that people are given? The curriculum. Now, there are a lot of curriculum out there, a lot of choices, and they'll all say that they solve every problem. It's all on the box. Just buy our stuff and you'll win and your kids will win. Well, there are a lot of different ones that are out there, but I would suggest that when you're looking at these type of things, ask simple questions. Does it work? Now, you may say, what do you mean? No one really asks them, does it work? What evidence do you have that it works? Like a survey, you have some type of randomly controlled trial. I have had CEOs of publishing companies say, well, no one asked for that. So why would we spend millions of dollars on a randomly controlled trial when no one asked for it? You got to ask. I would even say you got to demand. You got to have, your kids aren't guinea pigs. Our kids aren't, does it work? Some of the evidence that's often recited is highlighted here. Ed Reports, it's a curriculum vetting nonprofit, and they look to see alignment to standards, and it's green, yellow, red. And if it's green, green means go. And so most people use that service. But funny thing about Ed Reports, when you look at this is a letter from their CEO, and basically they don't in any way look at student achievement results. And their thing is, we never claimed that we did. If you thought that it was saying that, no, we didn't make that claim. That's you guys' fault. And so to emphasize a point, it's really, really important to look at what's actually working for kids and kids across all demographics. We start talking about equity and all these wonderful words and the kids living in poverty. Okay, how are those kids doing on this tool? Show me the data. Where's the report that says this is helpful for them to learn to read consistently? So, and then the last thing on this is when you're looking at resources, how long does it take to plan to do it fully? Because I have news for you. The kids who are the furthest from opportunity for whatever reason, you have to really plan to go get those kids. You don't just, you have to design the lesson a certain way and support it. And it takes time to prepare. If we're serious about that, that's one of the challenges I had with Oakland. They picked one of the heaviest and toughest things to plan for. And we argued back and forth. I lost a lot of friends. It is what it is. Kids first. And I looked at the teacher's contract that you all have, 225 minutes a week for teachers to prepare. So whatever curriculum you pick, does it work? And how long does it take to get ready for? It's like cooking a meal, right? 225 minutes, what you got to be able to do it. It's very common sense type thing. So those are the type of things we put in that are high leverage. Then some sort of a cushion, another one of those C's. This is a district in Arkansas, Little Rock. I won't play it now. It's in the appendix where a board member saying, this is the best thing I've seen in 20 years. I've been on this board. I've been doing all this stuff, and this is phenomenal. When something works for kids and teachers, you'll know it. It's not really difficult to explain. Fewer words will come your way, and you'll see the data and the results for it. So that's just something that you all can take a look at a little bit later. Last couple of things here. I don't know if you've seen this before. There's a think tank called Excel in Ed, and they look at policies and implementation. What are the things needed to get kids reading? Early implementation policies and practices. And they came up with 18 of these things, right? These are the 18 things. They have all the subcategories, but they add up to 18, right? And then full implementation, partial, future, and then not adopted. So in Mississippi, you may have heard about Mississippi's growth. They were 50th, now they're in the middle of the pack, 20th or 21st. 17 out of the 18 policies they've got in place. So those guardrails have been put up legislatively to make sure that the folks have what they need, et cetera. New York, on the other hand, they've got a wonderful state literacy initiative. I know Chancellor Banks, great guy, and the policy environment is just tough. They just don't have the policies there. So they're really asking teachers to make bricks without straw. They don't screen for dyslexia. They don't do this, they don't do that, but everyone's making big speeches. So Hawaii's got 3 of the 18. Now, to be fair, like there are a lot that don't have any. And those 3, I guarantee you, they're probably hard earned. Sometimes we dismiss things in comparison, but no. This shows me that somebody is making an effort. Someone is on it, right? And there's a lot of work to do from a policy standpoint. That may beyond staff. There's some policy things that could help move the ball forward in terms of literacy. And then there's a list there of some of the things that they identify as being important. That Hawaii still yet to have the policy or implementation for it. Okay, so our goal, we're trying to raise awareness about all this stuff because my assumption is that we want all our kids to be good readers, right? To be proficient or advanced or whatever you want to call it. Like that's my assumption. So that's why we're having these conversations. I'm so grateful for the department, for Hawaii P20 and just there's the state librarian and other folks that kind of brought us in and say, hey, we're doing this good work, but you know what? We're vulnerable enough to build on this and say, we don't have all the answers yet, but we're dedicated to it and we're working on it. So what have you learned elsewhere? So that's one of the reasons we're here, and the conversation will happen tomorrow evening after the movie is screened. But we just want to raise awareness about this. Like 40, there are some states who hear your numbers, they be like, oh my gosh, I wish we had Hawaii's situation. And when you ask the question, what do you want for the children? I don't know you personally, but more than likely, folks at this table are saying, I think we can do more. Our kids can do more, right? So that's what I have for you. I'm thanking all these organizations. You can see the time. If you don't know about the thing, you can talk to the folks behind me about it tomorrow night. But I hope to see some of you there. And I'm happy to take any questions for either myself or for Romy, who's still here, in whatever time we have left.
Thank you very much, Mr. Weaver. Do we have any testifiers who are signed up to provide oral testimony on this agenda item?
Yes, Chair, we have,
For Mr. Weaver, or talking points, anything you want to say? Board member,
Sorry, Bill Arakaki, board member. Thank you so much for the presentation. And I know on the PowerPoint, there's a lot of links and there's reports in there. So, me, I'm old school, so I had to print out the report from the Excel in education, and, a lot of things in there. And for me to understand, we're doing a lot of great things here in Hawaii. And, being the part of the Student Achievement Committee, we did have work with the DOE regarding all the areas that we have to do. And desired outcome 1.1.3, I believe, is the one about grade 3 reading. So this really stimulates the thoughts, and in working with our department here is that from K or pre-K to grade 3, how do we continue to support our schools to make sure, and also we have in our desired outcome, again, all students are able, equally successful and so on. So how to make sure all students are literate and are able to read. And, I see in the report is that science of reading. So when I did contact the DOE, science of reading is something that we are having here working in Hawaii. And, coming from Kauai, a lot of the literacy efforts are there. So we're here to support that. Now, with the report that came out, a lot of it is pertaining to a lot of policies that need to be statewide law, or things that then it goes up as far as implementation and things. So is that correct? Because, we're not there yet, but there are some things maybe we as a board or working with the department, how we can get this really moving and support our schools.
Right, there are some things. So yes, it's a state initiative that has to do with legislation being passed or ed code. But there are some things that the department can do. And, for example, early screening for not just reading difficulty, but also risk of dyslexia, and saying we're not going to wait to fail. Most states, we used to have it in most states where kids would have to be 2 and 3 years behind before we screen them for certain things. And even if we did screen them for certain things, we didn't screen them for some of the things that we weren't sure how to deal with. It's better to know. Let's find out. If there are issues, let's find out so we can support kids. There are things policy-wise, for example, if I'm a teacher and I want to have professional development and learn about the science of reading, where do I go? Do I pay for that out of my pocket? Is there a pot of money somewhere at the state level that I can tap into? That matters. And there are lots of things that can be done at the department level. But you're right, a lot of it is policy. And it has to do with folks championing this cause in the State House, and making informed choices that not just to virtue signal, but to actually talk with you all and talk to the superintendent and say, hey, what's necessary? What specific things can we do to help move this ball forward? And to have legislation that's purposeful and very, very specific would be helpful. But there are some things at the department level that you can do.
So thank you for the explanation, because definitely we are going to work together, Papa, with all of us board members and with the DOE and even with the legislatures, because I'm sure that we're looking at this going, okay, we need to put something in law, but and yet how do we do things so that it doesn't burden the teachers, the classrooms, the principals, and everyone else? So it's a major task, but it stimulated a lot of thought.
Yeah.
And I have one last question.
Go ahead.
Part of the report had the eliminating three queuing instruction. What is three Q?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So, quick question. Do you remember how you learned to read? Those of you who are here on the board, you remember? Many educators, many of us who are professionals don't really remember. Um, and so when we start to create and design things, we're very agnostic about it. Well, that sounds good. That sounds all right, because it was kind of easy for us, for many people. But the majority of kids actually need it done in a very structured, sequential way. So the three queuing is another system. It was created by this gentleman named Ken Goodman. He said reading was a psycholinguistic guessing game. And so you use clues to figure out what the word is. You use context and visual clues, and you put the word together like a puzzle based on the clues. But what if you take away the pictures? What if you take at some point you have to be able to sound out the word cat, hat, rat. And so three queuing is a system of what I would call workarounds, using different clues to figure out what a word means. And the science does not support that. The science says if you actually teach kids explicitly, directly, and systematically how to crack the code, they can do it. That's the short version of it.
Thank you. I understand.
And what I will say to that also is that teachers don't make this up by themselves. There are curricula that promote it. There are universities who teach it. There are principals who manage towards it. And so it has to be something from leadership that says, hey, we're actually going to attend to the science. We'll give you all the professional development you need, and we're going to do right by our kids.
Yeah, and my last comment is thank you so much. It stimulates a lot of thought. I'm looking at everyone else going, yeah, because we get young kids. I got to teach my grandson how to read. He's 8 years to 8 months, 2 years 8 months. So really anticipating a great session tomorrow with the groups that'll be there to hear what they say and so on. So thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, Mr. Weaver, thank you for your kind words and insights. I think you've given us a lot of food for thought. Board members, it's an open invitation